relaxing back there. Caught everybody.
Thank you. We'll just give it a moment. So the camera's in the back. You guys are good. All right. Coach, whenever you're ready, sir.
Guys, how we doing today? Good. All right. We, simply put, a lot of lessons to learn from our experience in Nashville. The laundry list of things that contributed to not playing winning football was way too long, right? And certainly as the head coach, all those things are my responsibility. We certainly can do a lot of things better. Simply put here, we got to get up off the ground, dust ourselves off, and get back to work. Fight for each other, work hard for each other. Quickly turn the page here in a short week to get ready against a really good Florida State team. Ton of respect for Coach Norvell and his team and how it's improved. Certainly when you watch the tape, you see that improvement year 1 to 2 to 3. And certainly they're playing really good football right now. So a lot of challenges, got to go play at their place. We're right in the middle of the prep today. And I thought we had really good meetings and walkthrough yesterday with the players. And I know our players are anxious about this opportunity. When I was growing up, Florida and Florida State were dominating college football. And it was Steve Spurrier, it was Bobby Bowden, and pretty awesome to be a part of this game. And certainly having been in the ACC for 7 years and played against Florida State in the past, ton of respect for that place in the history and tradition there. So excited about the opportunities that come with this game. Certainly we all are very aware of the history, the tradition, the rivalry, and the things that come with that. So what questions do we have here?
All right. Mark, you want to start us off?
Sure. Billy, when you look at the league right now, you got a pretty good feel of it. What do you make of what's happening around the league when you look at Ole Miss, Tennessee, Florida last week, South Carolina the week before, Vanderbilt's, winning games?
Right.
Is it more parity maybe than before, and if so, why?
Yeah, no, I think, I actually talked to the players a little bit about that yesterday. I think college football as a whole, if you just look at the games and the scores from Saturday, I don't know if parity is the right word, but I think, having the ability to perform on a consistent basis, I think for our team, it's handling success and handling failure, remaining steady and consistent with our approach, our mentality, our thought process, our methods relative to getting our team ready to play and as members of the organization, but also as individual players, right? I think we live in a time where you just see a lot of inconsistency. So, but yeah, when I got home, I'm watching that Carolina-Tennessee game too, and then I'm seeing Ole Miss, Arkansas, and a number of games that, probably much closer than expected. So I just think there's a number of challenges that come with roster attrition and retention, the addition of players, all the things that contribute to your stability of your program, right? I think things can change dramatically in a hurry, right? So, and I do think in this era, there's more information out there earlier. Recruiting is a completely different dynamic than it was maybe even early in my career. So I think the game continues to evolve. And, bottom line, and I told our team this yesterday, I really have confidence in the work that we did throughout the week. But when the ball's spotted and the first play begins, you got to go earn the right to win. And you've got to execute, and you got to do your job. And there's hundreds of people that contribute to that in this game, and I think that's the challenge, right? That's the thing. That's what I love about the game is the leadership challenge that comes with getting the organization and the team to perform on a consistent basis. Great question, though.
Sorry about that. What were some of the things that stood out to you after watching the film from the game? Just some of the main lessons.
Yeah, turnover on special teams. We had a few injuries there at returner over the last couple of weeks. We had a short field turnover that led to a touchdown. So really 14 points there in a matter of minutes. 2 red zone opportunities early where we had to settle for field goals. So missed opportunities from a point standpoint, but also momentum, Also think that the penalties were a major factor. I think for the first time, since we've been here, penalties had a significant impact on the game. 3 third downs where they get earned first off of penalties. We had 2 explosive runs that were called back as a result of penalties. So those are 5 significant plays in the game. One of those runs is down to the 4-yard line, right? So, and then we were 0 for 2 on the 2-point conversions. We missed the PAT. The hidden yardage was a disadvantage in the game. So, a couple weeks in a row there, we did what was required to win. We did not do that Saturday.
What did you see in the run game on tape in terms of the execution of that? And was ETN even banged up during the game, or was there a reason for the carries? Or
No, I don't necessarily think that had anything to do with it. I think that we probably had less carries in the game, than we have. I think early on in the game there was some time of possession differences, and then once you got behind, it became, okay, we got to get back in the game. So, 2 explosive runs that got called back, throw those into the mix. I think the numbers are a lot different. We also threw it to the perimeter at times. We did not block well on the perimeter. We dropped a few. So, like we set up here before, when we rush the ball really well, every position contributes to when you rush the ball effectively, right? So I think as a whole there, a lot of things across the board that we could have done better.
So you said that Clark Lee kind of designed something to make Anthony make decisions that he maybe shouldn't have. What do you see? Some weeks he runs with ferocity. Some other weeks maybe it's not as quite as assertive. Is that accurate?
You're talking about running
just week to week running the football.
Yeah, no, I think there's not many plays where he's not involved in it. I think much like a pass pattern that you call, sometimes the coverage dictates where the ball goes. Anthony was forced to hand the ball off quite a bit in the game, so, the design run, we came back with a few of those in the second half, but to some degree, and that's happened before, when Montrell and Trevor get handed the ball and they have success, typically he's eliminating one player, right, by reading that defender. So I think the key there is that we continue to take what the defense gives us, right? So nothing significant on that end.
You've had these ferocious comebacks in 3 games that could have resulted in winning the game. How frustrating is the inconsistency that you can't get that kind of effort and that kind of production earlier?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think about that at times. I think that, you're until you get in the middle of the fight, I think that's one of the things, kind of like we're talking about Mark's question relative to performing with consistency, handling success, handling failure, being a consistent competitor. And I think ultimately, when you see that, you kind of flip that switch in times when you get behind, or maybe you're behind the 8 ball, or it's a closer game than expected. Those are the things that I'm talking about from a maturity standpoint. As a team, I think that's a little bit of where we're at. So, but I think it's a great question and one that I think about often.
When you talk about maturity there, is understanding that you're good enough to play with these guys part of the equation here, in getting these guys to understand that, okay, you're as good as the teams you're playing?
Yeah, no, I think we've got a lot of young players that have developed confidence as the seasons went along. But I also think, we're a team that can be very average, and we're a team that can be elite, And I think that it comes down to doing it when it counts, right? Put the ball down, to go execute, go do your job, you know. And I think consistency that's what we're searching for. Certainly Saturday was a little bit of a reality check in a lot of ways.
Billy, what's the message you would send to the fans right now who are obviously discouraged and disappointed about where you are?
No, I think that's an interesting question. I would tell you that we got a lot of folks working extremely hard. You know, a lot of people that care. You know, there's nobody that cares and works like this group of people. You know, players, staff members, the time that these people spend relative to doing their job at a high level. I would say that one day at a time, one person at a time, this group's we're gonna get it done.
A lot's been made of staffing with you guys. How does special teams fall into that? Who's running it? Because there's not like a special teams coach. I mean, is everyone involved in it? How's that go?
Yeah, we're doing it much like we've done in the past. We have all parts of our staff contribute to special teams. We've got 2 coverage units, we've got 2 return units, and we've got the 2 PAT field goal rush units. Each coach is assigned one of those, and he's the point person. Chris Couch provides the leadership there, the organizational part of that. We game plan together, and those guys execute the plan in the meeting and on the practice field. So it's the same blueprint we've used in the past, and one that's been very effective for us. It'll continue to be effective for us.
Is Florida State, having played Louisiana last week, can that be beneficial on some levels for the guys, the coaches who are carryover?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that there's pros and cons to that to some degree, if that makes sense. I think you may get some insight to the team that play against them, but they also win against a very similar structure to some degree the previous week, right? So I think there's pros and cons on both sides of that for sure.
Topics, but when it comes to Marcus Stokes, I don't know how much you can comment on that particular incident, but maybe just in general, is there a policy when something like that happens?
Yeah, no, we can't comment on it. Yeah, per the NCAA rules.
To the challenge of roster attrition, kind of a similar question to Matt. What's the message that you send to players after a loss like this? Maybe in terms of ones that you have to recruit back next year, or ones you're trying to recruit here, just in general.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think at this point, we've spent extensive amount of time with these people relative to, what we do and how we do it. I mean, we're much like many staffs in the history of this game. We're in the first year. We've got a lot of work to do. And I could be more excited about what I'm observing, relative to the improvement. Now, obviously didn't get the result that we wanted Saturday, but we got a group that's working extremely hard. We've made improvement in a lot of ways. And certainly we've got a bright future in front of us. So, it's more about the body of work, at that point in time.
All right, we'll close with Jake McGrane.
You had mentioned on Saturday that you guys would take a second look at Ventrell's targeting penalty and consider a potential appeal. Just have you guys had a chance to look at that, and how are you planning on proceeding?
Yeah, no, we've did extensive research on it, and I think all those things are done behind closed doors, with the league office and different people. So we've got great leadership in that area, and certainly, it is what it is, and certainly there's challenges, good and bad, that go with that, right? They've got a tough job to do, much like we've got a tough job to do, and you've got a tough job to do.
Just wanted to ask you real quick, now that you've had a chance to see how the group has responded after some losses, how have you seen them kind of improve in handling those things, maybe from not even just an emotional standpoint, but moving on to the opponent, especially knowing that you got a short week now? Yeah,
I joke around my wife. I think the kids are more resilient than the adults are, truth be known. So, this group is, it's one thing that I think we all can be proud of, is how they've responded, not only after difficult experiences on game day, but also within the game, right? I think that this group has showed some resiliency. It's a tough group. It's a group that cares about each other. It's a group that's worked extremely hard for a long time, and there's no question they'll be ready to go.
Billy, can I ask one more, please?
Sure.
The rush to judgment everyone makes in these situations. What's your kind of big picture view of that? Whether it's us, fans, whatever. I mean, like you say, we're in year one, you guys. And so what's your feeling on that? Because it's being evaluated all the time on Twitter and every week, and the sky's falling.
Yeah. I mean, I think you got to get consumed with the things that you know are under your control. You got to get consumed with improvement, efficiency, refining every part of the systems that you run, what you do with your time. We've been through this before, right? Okay, so, this is a process, right? I mean, these things aren't, just flip a light switch and, the house is built. I think it is truly one day at a time, and it's one person at a time. And I think that there's lots of things that contribute here, but we've been here before. I've got a ton of confidence in what we do and how we do it.
All right, thank you, Coach. Thanks, guys.
All right, guys, thank y'all.
Sorry to ask the extra one.
All good.
Let me know when you guys are in the back.
Pretty good. That's it.
All good? Good, Kev? All right, guys, we're joined by Osiris Torrance. We'll open up to questions.
The run game's been so effective, impactful. What kind of was going on Saturday, you think? I'm sure that was frustrating for you guys.
I think it was probably the communication and us playing together and like not being able to execute some of the plays that were called and not being on key with each other. And I want to give Vanderbilt defense some credit for coming out with a good game plan against our run game. And I think it kind of slowed us down in the start and we got behind, so we had to kind of lean on the throwing towards the second half of the game and just took the run game up out of the first half.
Now your guys are heading to Florida State. You haven't played in this game. It's a long-standing history, very heated rivalry. How excited are you for the opportunity, and just how big would this be for the program to kind of end the regular season with that?
I'm very excited because so far this season, every rivalry game we've played from the start, even though the outcome may haven't been what we wanted, it's always been fun to play in them. And it's just another one of those rivalry games that we have to come in ready to play from the start. And it's just from what I'm feeling from the other players of the team and from the history that I've noticed, like from just recent research, it's a big game, it's a big rivalry, so it's important that we get this win. And it's important that we get it for the leading into next season and on into both seasons to have momentum going into that time.
Is it frustrating to you guys that you've got 5 losses, but 4 of those games you look at them and you see that a mistake here and there cost you a ball game that you could have won? How frustrating is that?
It can be pretty frustrating at times, especially when we think about how close they were, but I tend to look at it as more of a learning experience instead of letting it be frustrating as looking at things we could change, like on our part. It's more of like things we did, like my line coach always tell us, it's not about them, it's about us. Like most of the time, our mistakes and things we do bad in the game be from us by shooting ourselves in the foot, and I feel like that's majority of the time things that happen to us. Like the last game was a lot of penalties and just us beating ourselves, and I think looking back on that, that's pretty tough, but looking at it as a learning experience helps out.
How is that frustration coming out within the team? Are you seeing guys kind of stay the course and look at the light at the end of the tunnel, or a loss like this really kind of upset guys?
After the game, of course, guys are going to be upset, but yesterday after we watched the film and kind of put it to bed, you can kind of see the leadership part of the team kind of shines out when we get in these type of moments. This isn't our first loss, so we've been here before, so this is time where the leaders of the team kind of really steps up and shows this why they're the leaders, and it kind of keeps the team in check because we got a short week and we got a big rivalry game, so there's no need to mope on the last loss. We need to just get ready for the next game.
players that have already announced that they're going to be leaving the program if they haven't already. Following a loss like this with a rivalry game on the horizon, what do you do in your position to keep guys bought in for at least one more week?
Just be the best example I can be. Like, come in, right mind, right focus, and like just lead by example. Even if I don't say much, just like lead and like keep the focus of the team like on the main goal, and that's to win the next game, basically. And that's kind of my main focus of doing it in my position group. Me and the other leaders in my position group, and even the other leaders at their position groups are there. Like, main focus just to make sure we stay the course. Yeah, we lost, but it's not the end of the world. We got another game to play, and we need to win it to like build momentum going into next season. So that's the main goal, just to keep everybody focused.
Anthony as quarterback
Oh,
this year in terms of leadership.
I seen it grow tremendously from back when I first got here from the spring to him not saying as much to him now, like every week he has on the same team meeting, standing up, talking after coaching, like just being a leader on and off the field, like getting us right in the huddle and like keeping everybody like on time and like on point, and like whenever people start playing around a little bit, you see him talking more and just being more of a leader, and I seen him grow tremendously in that point.
How satisfying is it for you that you come from a group of 5 program to the SEC and you were thought to be the best offensive lineman in group of 5, and now you're thought to be the best at this level?
It's pretty satisfying when I think about it, because honestly, I didn't think I was going to be able to have as much success this early when I got here, but from the hard work I put in over the summer, and then from the help of my like teammates and coaches, we all of it helped me out in this journey, and like it really is satisfying when I think about it. And then I probably had a lot of doubts, but I mean, it's just satisfying to be able to come out here and show what I can do and show that I really belong in a Power 5 SEC.
What were your doubts?
Probably not being able to play as well as I think I am, like not being able to play as well as I think they're playing, like not thinking, because coming out of high school and then many SEC teams look at me, so I kind of about had that in the back of my head. But coming here, like, kind of crushed all those small little doubts, but like it's those type of little things I put on myself. Yeah.
Coach Napier was asked about why there's so many upsets and craziness in college football these days, and he mentioned that as maybe one of the reasons is the transfers and guys like you coming in and making an impact. You're a football fan, just in general, I assume. When you see stuff like Tennessee get killed by South Carolina and upsets like that, what do you attribute that to? Is it just the new era of college football?
And I just kind of think of, like, it just shows that any team can lose any week, and like just being ready, like it don't matter what your record is, like it's about being 1-1 each week, and I think that's what kind of those type of games show you, that like the record overall doesn't matter as much. It's about being 1-0 this week, and that's kind of what we've been saying these past few weeks, is just being 1-0 each week, and I think that kind of plays a part, because any team can win any Saturday. I think that game right there kind of shows that that's kind of a fact. Yeah.
You talked to the guys at Louisiana about Florida State?
No, sir.
Were you surprised that it was such a one-sided game, FSU, Louisiana, and other?
Oh, yes, sir, a little bit. I didn't like the score too much.
What were some of the things at Louisiana that allowed for steady improvement under Billy? Like, what were some of the themes that allowed you guys to get better so quickly?
Probably how fast we all bought into what he was coaching us and saying. Probably, and then just the playing together as a team and not splintering when we did, like, have bad games and bad losses, because there was times in Louisiana where we had bad losses where we should have won, and I feel like in those times we came together as a team and was able to like fight back and go on to win the next few games and just play together better. So I feel like those were some of the things that helped us out.
I was asking Billy about people making a rush to judgment, like on the direction of the program this early. Did you feel like that's something that maybe he had to contend with right before you got there, when Louisiana went 7-7 and people were like, hold on, where are we going here?
Yeah, I feel like he went through that there too as well. I feel like that's just what a lot of coaches go through their first years in new situations, especially in winning programs, like a program like here who's used to winning and like starting off kind of how we did, then kind of hitting bumpy bumps in the road and things like that kind of slowed us down a little bit. And I think it's just something that all coaches kind of go through. But I feel like Coach Napier handled it pretty well.
What was your first impression of Montrell when he first got to Louisiana?
Not much, really. I honestly
Did you expect him to come what he has?
No, sir. I'm gonna be honest. I really didn't. I didn't pay notice until like the first few days of fall camp, and I just started realizing how he ran the ball like a pro from day one, and I started realizing he pretty special. Then like the first game came, and then that's when I started realizing like he's good.
What is it about him? Everyone struggled this last game running the ball, I know, but leading in, I mean, he was really putting it together late in games, getting stronger as it went, kind of thing.
I think it's probably the way we practice, how at the end of we practice hard for those types of moments in games, and I feel like he just get better as the game goes on with reading the defenses and getting better at bringing the linebackers to the line of scrimmage and shifting his course and then hitting the right gaps and things like that. And I feel like it's just a thing that we rep in practice, from team run to even the indie periods to the end of practice. All those reps just shows itself in the game.
Do you ever stop to think that here you are from Greensburg, Louisiana, what, two stoplights in the whole town, and now all of a sudden you're being thought of as first or second round draft pick? Do you ever think about that?
Sometimes, but I try not to think about it too much because it can probably get a little overwhelming. I'm just trying to focus on finishing in the season best I can, but I think about it a little bit, but I try not to.
You're kind of a big man in town, aren't you? In more ways than one.
Yes, sir. Kind of like the hometown hero. Yeah.
All right, appreciate it, Osiris.
Hey,
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.
We know when you guys are getting it back with your hammers.
Twice in 3 days, man.
All right, guys, we're joined by Anthony Richardson. Edgar, you want to start us off?
Sure. So Florida State, what's this game just mean to you? What did it mean to you growing up in Gainesville, just the rivalry?
You know, it's a rival game, a big game for the city of Gainesville, a big game for the University of Florida. So we got to bring it this week. Growing up, I always heard about Florida State, always heard about the Gators, and, you know, a lot of people trying to pull you to one side or another. But big game for the, you know, the state of Florida as well. So definitely got to bring it this week.
Any memories, a game? Any memories, one that sticks with you, or?
I do have some memories, not great ones, you know, especially me playing for the University of Florida. I remember watching Dalvin Cook, you know, just go crazy against the Gators almost every year. So that's probably one of the biggest memories I have.
Were you at that game? It was
No,
14.
No, I wasn't. Actually, I think we do like a watch party or something at one of my friends' houses, and we watched it, and we were just screaming at the TV, just heartbroken the whole time.
It was 15, actually, not 14.
How would you evaluate your performance from Saturday as a runner? Like, do you feel like you took advantage of opportunities the way you should have on the ground?
I know there were times I could have, you know, pulled the ball and probably, you know, ran backwards into the end zone. I didn't realize until after I handed the ball off, you know, especially when it comes to RPOs and reads, stuff like that. Sometimes you can, you know, misjudge the way the defense is playing you, or, you know, the way that you're supposed to attack the defense. So I think there were times I could have did it, but, you know, it's in the past now. I can't do anything about it now.
What do you take away from that, though? Like, what did you learn, maybe?
You know, whenever there is an opportunity for me to take the ball and run, you know, I just got to do it, because I could potentially help the offense. So that's what I take away from it.
The way you guys have come back, on Tennessee, on LSU, and Vanderbilt, and so forth like that, and even Georgia in that third quarter, does it kind of get a little frustrating to know that you guys are capable of playing with and beating anybody, and yet you've got 5 losses?
It's not frustrating. You know, it just shows us like what we're capable of doing when we actually want to go out there and attack the game how we're supposed to, instead of being lackadaisical and just, you know, letting the foot off the gas a little bit. So it's just an eye-opener for us and just lets us know we got to just go harder every time.
What's it been like dealing week to week with different receivers being hurt?
It's been a blessing, getting guys in there, building their confidence, help them catching the ball, help them get acclimated to the game, how fast everything goes. So it's been pretty good, just working with them, connecting with them, and just working like we've been doing since the offseason.
Dejan, we heard a lot about from the spring and then had a good camp. Finally got his chance. What'd you think of just the way he performed?
I didn't expect anything less from him. He's a great player, great guy, one of my best friends on the team. So just him being out there and able to showcase what he's capable of doing, I was happy for him, and I was definitely happy for him that he scored the touchdowns for us and got the yards that he did for us. Help us move the ball. So I was definitely proud of him.
From a momentum standpoint, just for the whole program, how important is it to beat Florida State this week? Especially given how fans are so disappointed after the Vandy game.
A lot of people disappointed, but it comes with the sport. You win some, you lose some. Even though we don't want to lose, it happens if you're not on top of your A game. So things like that happen. But momentum is always something that we try to work towards. Always try to put something in our favor when it comes to momentum. And we try to win every game. So we're not really focused on who we're playing because that can really, alter your mind and the way you're thinking about when it comes to the game plan and stuff like that. So we just try to focus on winning the game. And, when we win this one, it's definitely going to build momentum for us.
What have been some of the conversations like between the team and maybe with the coaching staff about this game being on a Friday? Is that a distraction, or is that something you guys have discussed just because of how much it affects the preparation?
It's not really a distraction for us. It's just a quicker turnaround for us. We have the same, game prep, schedule for us. It just bumped up a little bit. That's really the only thing that's really changed for us.
Got to ask you an unrelated one. Ideal Thanksgiving plate. Go.
Honestly, it depends on who's cooking. If my grandma's cooking anything, then I want everything she's making. My mom's cooking anything, I want everything she's making. But I got to have macaroni and cheese, some ribs, some chicken, some collard greens, cabbage. I'm a big guy, so I like to eat a little bit.
What's the plan for the team? Are you guys just going to eat here? Or are you going to go back with your families, or what are you going to do on Thursday?
We actually had a couple of gatherings with our coaches last week. Just an early Thanksgiving for us. Because we knew with the game being on a Friday that we weren't going to have time to go spend time with our family. So I'm pretty sure we'll have like a Thanksgiving meal Thursday night for us at the hotel. But we kind of already, ahead of the game with that.
Go ahead.
You turning pro? Just kidding. Have you ever played at Doak Campbell?
I haven't. I'm excited. First game there, and I was just ready to put on a show.
So, Billy, I asked him and Osiris about just kind of the rush to judgment that fans make. I mean, with you, obviously, too, but just with the program's direction. What's your, big picture view of where things are headed under Billy Napier?
Coach Nape has a great plan, great scheme. He's a great coach. So I don't have any negative judgment towards him. Like, just knowing him for the past year and knowing what he's capable of doing, I trust him fully. And I don't blame the fans and the supporters for feeling the way they feel, because University of Florida once was a great program, football-wise, even academically. So they're holding us to a higher standard, so we got to hold ourselves to that standard as well. But with Coach Napier, I feel like everything get back on course.
You said last week that you're not thinking about going pro at the moment. You're going week by week. In this era, with the opportunities that can be handed to a player to come back, and you compare that to the opportunities to go to the NFL, how difficult is that to balance in a player like your shoes?
I think it could be difficult. It could bring a lot of pressure on a person. But it's honestly up to them, in their judgment and what they want to do regarding their future. They got to have a lot of talks with their family and just consider everything that's happening. Like, just sometimes you got to be selfish and see what's on the table. But, I think it's just up to the person and their judgment.
On the subject of pressure, how do you think you've learned handling pressure and handling adversity this season? What have you learned maybe about yourself?
I learned a lot about pressure and adversity this year. I'm glad I went through it because it's just made me a better person. I'm a better, son, better brother, better teammate. Just everything regarding adversity. Pressure, the only time you do have pressure is when you put it on yourself. Because if you worry about what everybody else is thinking about you and what they want you to do, then that can make things harder for you. But just staying true to yourself and understanding who you are and what you are, it just makes it easier for the pressure to go away.
A lot of aspects to Billy's plan that you mentioned. What would you say maybe one tenet of that plan that gives you the most faith that things are going to end up, this program's going to end up being a national power again?
He says it all the time. He says, great people make great football players. So with him recruiting, great people, whether that's on the staff or just us as players, I feel like he's, on point with everything because he knows what he wants and he knows what he's going to get. So just trusting in him and understanding that he's going to have great people around here. Like, there's only so much time until great things start to happen.
How have you seen yourself improve? You talked about being a better brother, teammate, son, et cetera, like that. What specific, was there a specific moment, something that was said that made you give some insight to who you are and how you could be better?
A lot of things, honestly. Just going back to the Kentucky game, just talking to my teammates and my coaches, and them just telling me I need to just go back to having fun and just being myself. That's one thing. Just thinking hard about that and understanding where I kind of veered off from that. It kind of put it in perspective and made me understand how much pressure I was putting on myself instead of just being in the moment, living in the moment, instead of trying to live up to other people's standards. That was one thing. And I always remember this dear and true to my heart. My old QB coach in high school, he always told me before every game, a happy ant is a dangerous ant. So just me being happy and enjoying life, I'm dangerous whenever things do happen.
You're a happy ant?
Yeah, definitely.
All right, appreciate it, Anthony.
Thank y'all.
Moms versus grandmas, who, if you could only have one, which one are you gonna go to? If they're side by side.
I was going to say, always grandma. You always go with grandma. More experience.
Hey guys, we'll have Jason Marshall off to the side, and all the rest of the players that come in, we'll just be off to the side.